Okay, so have you ever found yourself in that loop, where you're trying really hard to shift someone else's behavior, maybe their mindset, or even their big life choices?
Oh, yeah.
You've poured hours, maybe days, sometimes even years into it, talking, reasoning,
Arguing.
arguing, definitely. Perhaps you've even, tried a bit of manipulation or bargaining or begging,
Mm. Or maybe even shaming, which we don't always like to admit.
right? Or just showering them with information, facts, figures, dangling incentives, setting up consequences.
All with that one hope,
Yeah,
right, that this time they'll change.
exactly. It's just such a common human thing, isn't
It
it?
really is.
All this energy, all this emotional effort, and then so often you hit a brick wall.
Yeah. Solid wall.
Why does that happen? Like, so consistently.
Well, it really boils down to something fundamental, something maybe really hard to swallow. A person just won't change unless they genuinely want to.
Yeah. That's probably one of the hardest truths to accept about people, isn't it? About relationships.
Absolutely. And that's what this deep dive is really about. We're going to unpack that uncomfortable truth today. Our mission really is to look at why our efforts, even the best intentioned ones,
Mhm.
often just fall flat.
Okay.
And we'll challenge some advice that's out there, advice that our source material actually calls sometimes privileged.
Interesting.
Yeah, and explore
Mm.
what power we actually have to influence others. We're drawing heavily from this really insightful YouTube video by Teal Swan. It's called One of the Hardest Things to Accept About People. They won't change unless they want to.
Got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into that. We've acknowledged that core truth, they have to want it. But why do we keep trying? Why do we pour so much into these, frankly, desperate methods?
Hmm.
The arguments, the reasoning, the manipulation we mentioned, bargaining, pleading, trying to make them feel guilty.
It's exhausting just listing them, isn't it?
Totally. And the information dumps, the reward systems, the punishments, it's just this cycle, often a demoralizing one.
It is. And what's really striking is just the sheer amount of energy we pour into these things, often for, well, very little lasting change.
Right.
If we look at the big picture, the core reason, like the video points out, is that the desire, the real want for change, it has to come from inside them. You can't make someone change.
No.
You just can't force it. They have to want to themselves. That's the fundamental, sometimes painful truth we have to wrestle with.
Okay, but here's something else. Despite that truth, there's this idea floating around, pretty popular today, I think.
Uh-huh.
This notion that it's somehow more, I don't know, moral or evolved to just let people be exactly as they are.
Ah, the live and let live approach.
Yeah, accept them, believe they'll change when they're ready. It feels very hands-off. Why do you think that idea has gained so much traction?
Well, it sounds good, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
sounds compassionate, non-judgmental,
Yeah.
like maybe it's the path of least resistance. Maybe the friction we feel is just our problem, our lack of acceptance.
Yeah.
But, and this is the big but in the source material, this mentality is described as potentially poor and profoundly privileged.
Whoa, okay. Privileged. That's a strong word.
It is. The argument is that this philosophy kind of falls apart the moment someone's actions start negatively impacting someone else's best interests in a serious way.
How so?
Because the whole live and let live thing relies on you being able to not be affected by what other people do.
Ah, okay. I see.
And let's be honest, we live in this interconnected world. That's rarely the case, right? We're affected by each other. This idea really only works smoothly if, as the source puts it, your own situation is pretty darn good for you, or if you have the luxury to just walk away from bad situations without consequences.
Okay, that clarifies the privileged angle. It's about overlooking the impact on others when you advocate for simple acceptance.
Exactly. It implies that if you're struggling because of someone else's behavior, the problem is your lack of acceptance, which kind of dismisses the real harm that might be happening. The video gives some really stark examples where live and let live just doesn't cut it. Like someone stuck in a rescuer pattern in relationships.
Yep.
They keep finding dysfunctional partners, maybe not out of pure kindness, but maybe they're playing out their own need to be rescued or trying to trap someone,
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can just step back and it doesn't affect you much, maybe you can let them be. But the dysfunction is still there for them and others.
But it gets worse.
Oh, much worse in other scenarios. The advice completely breaks down with severe stuff. The source asks, what if someone is sexually abusing children?
Okay, yeah, clearly not acceptable.
Or someone taking over a government and, targeting a specific group, saying just let people be as they are there. Well, it's obviously unworkable. It's morally wrong. The idea that you just need to change yourself in the face of that kind of harm, it feels completely disconnected from reality.
Absolutely.
And even on a more personal but still deeply impactful level.
Hmm.
The video uses the example of a woman with an emotionally unavailable husband. For her, accepting him as he is might mean, quote, emotional starvation or divorce. That's not just a small inconvenience. There are huge financial implications, maybe effects on kids, especially if she's the main caregiver and can't easily earn money.
Wow. Yeah.
So telling her, hey, your problem is you just need to let people be, it just doesn't hold water when someone's actions or inactions have such massive negative consequences for your life, for your well-being.
Right.
It really shows we're all tangled up in this interdependent web, like the source says. We're not just isolated individuals whose choices don't ripple outwards.
And that is such a critical point to underscore. Most people trying desperately to get someone else to change, they aren't doing it lightly.
No.
They're facing real serious implications. Fear, pain, major life consequences they're trying desperately to avoid. So just dismissing their efforts, telling them to be more accepting, it totally ignores the high stakes they're dealing with.
Exactly. It's easy to preach acceptance from a safe distance. Much harder when you're the one directly impacted by unchanging harmful behavior.
Okay, so this is tricky then. We can't make people change,
Oh,
and just letting them be isn't always practical or even ethical, especially when there's real harm involved.
right.
So what can we do? What's our actual power here? It feels like we're stuck.
That's the crux of it.
Yeah.
And there is something we can do, but it requires a shift in focus. The truth you really need to absorb, as the video puts it, is that all you can do is to try to get a person to want to change.
Ah, the want. Back to the desire.
Exactly. Desire. The source calls it a far more powerful force than we often realize. The person needs to have that light bulb moment, that internal click where they see that changing is actually in their own best interest.
Their own best interests.
That realization, that connection to self-benefit, that's the foundation for any real lasting desire to change. Our power isn't in forcing, it's in sparking that.
Okay, so influence, not control. Got it. But how? How do we help someone see that change is good for them, especially if they seem totally resistant or just blind to it?
Yeah, that's where it gets practical, doesn't it? It's less about lecturing.
Right. Less telling them what to do.
Exactly. And more about helping them connect the dots themselves. One way is just clearly, calmly stating the direct consequences of their current actions.
How so? Like an ultimatum?
Not necessarily as a threat, more like a factual observation. When X happens their behavior, then Y happens the consequence, and this is how it impacts me, DS.
Okay.
For example, when you shout during disagreements, I shut down and can't resolve the issue with you. It links their action to an outcome they are creating, one that might not be serving them either if they want resolution.
I see. Making the cause and effect clear.
Precisely. Another way is highlighting potential benefits for them that they might not see, maybe through storytelling or showing alternatives.
So instead of you need to manage your money better.
Right. You could maybe share, I used to feel really stressed about bills, but since I started using this simple budgeting app, I actually feel more in control and, surprisingly, have a bit more freedom.
Illustrating a positive outcome for them.
Yes. Showing, not just telling. Creating a vision that might be more appealing to them than where they are now.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the source also mentions things like educating, supporting, but also threatening or imposing consequences. That last bit feels a bit iffy. How does threatening fit with inspiring desire? Isn't that just forcing again?
That's a really important question. And the distinction is subtle but crucial. Even those tougher measures, like setting a firm boundary with a clear consequence, they still ultimately work by tapping into the person's self-interest.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Well, a boundary, like if you continue to break our agreements, I won't be able to trust you with important responsibilities anymore. It creates a new reality for them.
Right.
You're not physically forcing them to keep agreements, but you're introducing a consequence, losing trust, losing responsibility that they likely find undesirable.
So the desire to change comes from wanting to avoid that negative consequence.
Exactly. The motivation might become, oof, I don't want that to happen, so maybe I should change my behavior. It's still their calculation of what's in their best interest, given the new information or the new boundary you've set.
So it's about presenting a choice with clear stakes that might make them choose differently.
Precisely. It's structuring the environment or the interaction so they decide the effort of changing is worth it to gain something or avoid losing something they value. This also ties into troubleshooting why they might not want to change.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get hidden benefits from staying stuck, right? Comfort, familiarity, avoiding hard work.
Yeah, the devil you know.
Exactly. Helping them see and maybe overcome those hidden incentives is also part of sparking that genuine desire for something different.
Okay, so bringing this back to us, the listener. Why is really accepting this hard truth that people only change if they want to? Why is that so important for our own well-being?
It's huge. Accepting this fundamentally changes the game for us in several key ways. First, it brings clarity, like laser focus. If someone isn't putting in the effort, the issue isn't necessarily your approach. It's that they don't want to change or don't see the benefit yet.
Right. It stops the endless, what am I doing wrong cycle.
Totally. It cuts through the confusion, maybe the self-blame. You see the real obstacle, their lack of internal desire.
Yeah.
Second, and this is really empowering, it lets you redirect your energy. You stop wasting it on the impossible forcing change and start focusing on the actual task, trying to spark their desire. By showing them why it's in their interest, like we discussed,
Right.
and maybe helping them figure out what's holding them back from wanting it, those hidden payoffs for staying the same.
And it just saves so much energy, right? I loved those analogies in the video.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Like stopping the pattern of being the moth that is flying up against a window until it dies of exhaustion. Or don't keep beating on the wall hoping that it's going to turn into a door.
Exactly. Acceptance lets you see the wall for what it is, a wall, or the closed window. And then you can stop banging your head against it and start looking for an open window, or maybe a different path altogether.
Yeah. Stop wasting time on what's unworkable.
Precisely. It forces us, in a good way, to face the reality we're actually in, instead of the reality we wish we were in. And sometimes this means facing really tough choices. The source calls them terrible choices. Terrifying choices with very real implications.
Like what?
Like realizing someone won't change and deciding you need to distance yourself or end a relationship or change your circumstances drastically to protect yourself or meet your own needs.
Yeah, that's heavy, but real.
It is real. It's not easy. Accepting this truth doesn't magically make everything okay, but it makes you deal with what is. And ultimately, for change to actually stick, for it to last, the person has to feel like it's theirs. They have to own it, choose it, believe deep down it's in their best interest. Otherwise, it's just temporary compliance or it breeds resentment.
And that internal ownership, that's something we can influence maybe, but never truly control.
Never control, influence, inspire, support, set boundaries around.
Yeah.
Yes. Control. No.
So the faster you can accept that fundamental limit, the more effective you actually become. Not necessarily at changing them, but at navigating the situation wisely.
Yes. And at closing that gap between the reality you have and the reality you want, it puts the power back in your hands, not power over them, but power over your own energy, your own choices, your own next steps.
Okay, so let's recap the core insight here. You simply cannot force other people to change. It won't happen unless they truly want to.
Right.
But you do have influence. Your power lies in trying to spark that desire within them, mainly by helping them see how changing could be in their own best interest.
It's a subtle shift, but it changes everything about how you approach these tough situations. Less frustration, more focused action.
Absolutely. It can save you so much heartache and wasted effort.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening to consider. If all you can truly do is try to inspire a person to want to change, where will you focus your energy now? Especially in those situations where someone else's actions are really impacting you negatively. Will you keep, beating against that closed door, hoping it'll magically open? Or will you shift your focus? Will you start looking for those open windows, those different paths where your energy can actually create movement, create influence, and maybe, just maybe, lead towards a reality that feels better for you?